Hi, this is Emerald and welcome to the Diamond Net, and today I want to talk to you about beliefs. Alright, so before we talk about beliefs, I want to give a little bit of clarity about what it is that the average human experience is. So if you think about the average human experience, this boils down to the five senses and also thought. Like at any given point in time, that's the only thing that you can actually sense in your field of awareness. Now, emotions, I think, are probably a combination of thought and sensation, like you feel them as sensations in the body, but I'm going to go ahead and leave emotions out of that too. So you have your thoughts, you have your sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. And other than that, that's all you have. So if we consider this when looking at beliefs, then we know that beliefs happen only in the space of thoughts. And so what a thought is it normally shows up as either like a really hazy, fuzzy, verbal sound, like that you're not actually hearing, but you can kind of hear it. Like if I think, see Jane run, I can hear see Jane run in my head if I try to think it, or I can see an image of Jane actually running. And so these are the ways that thoughts occur to us. So they occur to us with our with little hazy visual images and also with these little hazy verbal sounds. Now we can also think about the way things taste to us and smell to us, but mostly our thoughts come to us as that. And so what a belief is a belief is a thought, and it's a thought that we've begun to identify with. And a belief is a thought that we either think is true or not true. And so, with that said, a belief is not the truth itself. A belief is a thought, a mental construct, placed on top of an experience of reality that we either think is true or not true. So it becomes very, very important if you're seeking to experience truth to differentiate beliefs from our sensations and the things that we perceive, because essentially our perception of things is what is the truth with a capital T for us, whereas our thoughts are just content within our perception of our thoughts. And so in a way, all beliefs is kind of like a map to the truth. The fingers pointing toward what the truth is, but never the truth itself. And now the same goes for falsehoods. Like you could have a false belief that points away from the truth. So I mean, in that way, false beliefs are a lot more detrimental to us than true beliefs. But at the same time, beliefs have an illusory nature, because essentially whenever it comes to believing a belief, you are getting attached to a particular thought, and the content of your thoughts themselves are not the truth itself. And so at this point you might be saying something like, well, Emerald, aren't all your videos your own beliefs? Isn't that what you're sharing with me? Like, can't you boil down the things that you're sharing down to the contents of your own thoughts? And what about your thoughts are more important to share than anybody else's thoughts? And I think that this is a good question to ask. So I would say that my thoughts are not any more valuable than they actually yield results in your own experience. So if you're watching my videos and you get something from the thoughts that I'm sharing, then ultimately my videos will be positive for you. If you watch my videos and you get something very negative out of what I sing, then basically my videos are going to be very negative for you. It's going to depend on your personal circumstances and where you are in your life. And so my videos have no value in themselves aside from your experience of them. So that's one very important thing to realize, whether you're watching me or you're watching somebody else like Shinzen Young or Matt Kahn or Ralph Smart or anybody else who makes videos like this, or anybody who has an opinion like this. Because ultimately, all they can ever give you is the map of the territory. They can't give you the territory itself. You have to actually do the research and observation in your own experience to be able to see this. So you can either look at my videos and say, oh yes, I believe that, or oh no, I don't believe that. but ultimately the value is going to be in what you can do for yourself from the information that I share. And so you might ask, what can I do with this information that beliefs are not the truth? Well, I think the most important thing that you can do is actually go and differentiate the things that you believe are true from the things that are actually true in your experience. And you want to be very, very radical with this. And from radical contemplation and radical examinations of your own assumptions and beliefs about reality, you can actually get a real experience of reality beyond what your beliefs are, which most people have never experienced. And so let's get really radical with the beliefs that we're questioning. So the first thing you want to realize is that since you only experience things in your thoughts and your five senses, ultimately all of your memories of the past and all of your fantasies about the future all boil down to beliefs. They're not the real thing. The only thing that is real to you are the things that you are perceiving in the present moment. Now, you don't want to confuse this for the content of what you're perceiving. So let's say, for example, I'm perceiving that I'm having these thoughts come up. I don't want to mix that up with saying, oh yeah, those thoughts are true. That's the content of the thought. But the fact that I'm actually having the thought, that's true. I'm seeing things, that's true. I'm hearing things, that's true. I am smelling things, tasting things, depends on what you're experiencing. Now, so essentially I'm making a very radical claim that you don't actually know anything beyond what your sensory experiences are telling you in the present moment. You only know the things in your awareness in the present moment. So, for example, right now I'm not looking at a mirror. Do I have a head? Well, I can certainly feel some sensations, but I can't see my head. So ultimately, it's my belief that my head is still there. Now, of course, this is very radical, but these are the type of radical questions that you need to ask before you can actually have a real breakthrough. Here's another example. The world is round. Well, I don't experience it right now. Right now, to me, the world seems flat. It's not the argument that the world actually is flat. That's pretty ignorant to think, considering that most people have been writing in lots of different textbooks that it's round, and many scientists have studied it. But just become cognizant of the fact that you've probably never experienced that in your reality. And you're definitely not experiencing it right now unless you are an astronaut looking down at the Earth. And so it is not part of your reality in the present moment. It is a belief. Another example of very radical questioning of beliefs. I right now have a belief that my living room exists. I'm not sitting in my living room right now. So ultimately that boils down to a belief. It's not as to say that my living room doesn't indeed exist, but it only right now exists in the realm of thoughts because I am not having a first-hand experience of my living room. China exists. Right now, I'm not in China, and so I don't know whether or not China actually exists, but I believe it exists. Ancient civilizations existed. Ancient Egyptians, ancient Mesopotamians, people like that. I take for granted that those things exist, but I've never had first-hand experience of it, nor am I experiencing it in the present moment. And so you can see that there are many examples of things that we have to take for granted. We have to take it on faith that our memories of the past actually even correlated to a reality. That's how radical you should be doing this examination of your beliefs. So for example, I might believe that, oh yeah, I can remember back to when I was 5 years old and, I had this particular memory where I was hanging out with my parents. That's not something that I'm experiencing in my present reality. So potentially, it could be just as true that those are completely made up memories. Maybe they don't correspond to any kind of reality, and maybe only the present moment that I'm experiencing right now is true. Now, I'm not saying that that's what you should believe. That can be crazy making, and ultimately you're going from, if you were to cling on to that as a belief too, you're in the same exact predicament. So whether you believe that your past experiences are true, or whether you believe that your past experiences are somehow implants in your memory, those are both equally beliefs. However, the point is not to debunk basic fact-based beliefs. The point is not to debunk things so that you can get to another belief. The point is to open yourself up, to get yourself into a state of receptivity and understanding really just how little you know about your reality. There are so many things that are taken for granted, and essentially what happens then is your cup becomes full of beliefs and there's no more wisdom that can be added to it. So when you open yourself up and when you start to realize the illusory nature of beliefs and how much they prejudice your experience of the world, when you're able to actually strip those away, you can receive insights so much better. So here's my recommendation with beliefs. Make sure you are aware that they are beliefs. Keep them around if they're useful to you. Chuck them out if they're not useful to you. So you want to think about beliefs like a tool. So let's say, for example, you have a giant toolbox full of beliefs that you carry around everywhere just in case you need them, and you never set them down. You're going to get really fatigued and you're going to be working at a less optimal level, and your mind is going to be constantly cluttered with these beliefs, and they're going to be constantly distorting your lens of how you perceive reality, and it's going to make you a very unhappy person. And I think that this is one of the biggest problems that I see in humanity, is that people cling so much to beliefs that do not help them. Or they keep around a belief that helps them in certain situations, but they forget to put it down in other situations. So ultimately, you want to hold on to beliefs very, very loosely and be able to set them down and open yourself up when they're not necessary. And don't worry about your beliefs going away. I mean, you're not going to lose your intellect if you decide to set them down for a little bit. It's just that you will get a little bit of a rest and you'll be able to open up your experience. And so ultimately, this is why I tend not to engage in ideological arguments. So, for example, if I'm giving my perspective on a particular thing, and let's say that someone comes around with a contradictory perspective on that thing, I won't actually try to talk them out of their belief in what they believe in. And I won't budge on my belief necessarily. I just kind of keep an open mind that maybe what they say could be true, but also maybe what I say could be true. But neither of those things is the truth itself. So ultimately, if I engage in an argument with a person whose perspective disagrees with me in hopes of making them come off of their perspective so that they can take on mine, that doesn't have a lot of value, because ultimately it comes down to my monkey chatter against their monkey chatter. And so I think that that's really fruitless and isn't really going to yield a lot of results. My main thing is that I try to remain as open as possible, and I try to keep in my mind the only thing that I know is that I don't know anything. And ultimately that's true. Beyond this present moment that I'm experiencing, and beyond the things that I'm sensing, I really don't know anything. And so in that way, it's very nonsensical to watch my YouTube channel. But paradoxically, I think it can also be very valuable too. So the main takeaway from this is to really realize how little that you can know as a human being. And once you know the limitations of how much you can actually know, it can get you into a state of openness and receptivity beyond what you've ever been capable of before. And so when it comes to learning from talking heads on YouTube like me, or spiritual teachers or gurus, you want to make sure that you're not buying too much into what they say, because ultimately all they can give you are more mental constructs. All they can give you are more beliefs. What's going to be the value of it is actually going and doing the work of stripping away your own assumptions and beliefs. And only underneath your own assumptions and beliefs can you find a real experience of the truth that's in your everyday experience already, but your conceptual dominance and your beliefs obscure that truth. And so, ironically, what you want to do, if you want to benefit the most from the content of this video, you want to adopt the belief that you really know nothing other than what's in your present moment, and that all the rest are beliefs. And then you want to use that belief to actually move closer to an experience of the truth and to open yourself up. And so, in that sense, a belief is only as good as it does for you. If it does nothing for you, move on. If it does something for you, that's good, but also never forget that it's the map and not the territory itself. Alright, so that's all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, click the subscribe button below and hit the like button. Other than that, that's all I have for you, and until next time, keep becoming more you.